Hi, everyone. This is Divided Films, a podcast where we talk about movies that audiences and critics do not agree on. My name is JJ. With me always is my co-host Keith.
Hello.
And with us today, our guest is our good friend Andy Martinez.
Hi there. Hello,
Andy. Andy is an actor, comedian, and all around a good old pal.
Wow, what an intro! Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we could do more.
We all go way back, and we're all like film fanatics. So we all have strong opinions around here.
Very strong.
Try to keep it civil.
Yeah,
that's the one thing we ask. So today we're talking about Arachnophobia, the 1990, I guess, comedy horror film, as you
black comedy, probably
like 70% black horror, 70% horror, 30% comedy.
It's not blaxploitation.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any black people in this movie. But anyway, 1990, I guess, like dark comedy horror movie, directed by Frank Marshall, starring Jeff Daniels. So I think we're all a little familiar with this movie before we had watched it recently. So this is a movie that it falls into the category of strong critic approval, but a mixed audience response. Does that surprise you at all?
No, not at all. I mean, watching it again, it surprised me, obviously, just in terms of how people talk about quality in film today. But, I mean, back then, definitely not surprising at all.
Yeah,
we'll get into it. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised at the mixedness of it, but at least it is perfectly mixed. When I'm reading through the audience reviews of it, they're like, oh, okay. But having not seen this movie in years, I was along for the ride that this movie put me on.
Oh yeah,
it's trying to maybe keep in mind both like the initial response back in 1990 and then now almost 30 years later, like the kind of like how time has treated this movie. I don't think this movie stands out as like, a classic or anything. I think it's not, but then at the same time, it's not totally faded into obscurity. It's a movie that I guess you'll see on TV once in a while or something. And I really enjoy it.
It's kind of a cult classic, right? I mean, it doesn't really have a like dedicated following, but there's still people who like talk about like, oh, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, people appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, this has quite a difference in the critical and audience score. That I did not really expect it to be that big of a difference. It is 92% with critics and 54% with audiences. And this is not really, I feel like this is not like a divisive film with like controversial subject matter. I mean, it's a spider creature feature.
I mean, I don't want to say that it's a thinking person's movie, but I definitely think that at least, because, and we'll talk about this, but I'd like to think that I stand on both sides of the issue of being biased against spiders and biased with how I feel about this movie just on a level of like the script and everything. And people, if they're thinking about how much they hate spiders most of the time, I can understand that. This film is pretty rough to watch.
It'll give you arachnophobia. It'll give you arachnophobia.
Yeah, which I just want to go on record before we talk about anything. I love this movie, but rewatching it was extremely rough.
I can imagine.
I was sitting close towards my TV at first because I was sitting at my computer desk, like taking notes while I was watching it. And I just found myself slowly inching away with every close-up.
Yeah, this movie has like so many like moments where you just squirm. Even if you're not arachnophobic, you still kind of get these like ooh kind of moments.
I got goosebumps at some point.
Yeah, which I think is to the credit of the movie.
They're all real. That's
except for Big Bob.
They call him Big Bob.
The general.
The general.
I'm really glad they don't call him that movie. But
I mean, for me, the first
they called the puppet that.
The first word that comes to mind for me with this movie is fun. I think this movie is really fun. But like, we were talking, we have another episode where we talk about Hereditary, and we kind of differentiate between horror movies that are like roller coaster scares and movies that are like more psychological. And this is like, in the best possible way, it is like roller coaster scares. It's like fun. You're kind of having a good time.
That's really funny. Did you read the IMDb trivia for this?
I did.
I did not actually.
So,
please enlighten me.
Well, one of the things I wrote down was that Frank Marshall, when he talked about, because this script went through like a couple revisions in the early stages, because they wanted it to be a more traditional horror movie at first. Like kind of just like almost a B movie. I mean, it has a B movie concept.
Yeah, it kind of has like a bit of homage to like the classic Hollywood creature setup. The town and the people in the town.
The spider on the lid,
and I mean, one of the executive producers is Steven Spielberg, and you can definitely feel his touch on a lot of
very Spielbergian. I feel this movie.
The spider coming out of the guy's face is like it's like Jaws when the head is like coming out of like the canoe.
I was gonna say this later, but I feel like this movie, maybe I'm going on a limb here, but I feel like this movie is like the Jaws of spider movies.
It absolutely is.
It 100%. Think about some of the parallels here. I mean, one, you have like a sort of outsider who has to conquer a fear, and at the very end, he's going mano-a-mano with the creature once and for all. I think small town that's getting like totally like turned upside down by this creature. Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels there, and it's not in a bad way. And I'm not saying this is ripping off Jaws, but that is part of the reason why I feel like Spielberg's hand was definitely all over this movie.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of, not the parallel, but Poltergeist. Like, it's another Spielberg that he didn't direct, but you could definitely, if you were like, who directed this movie? Oh, it has to be Spielberg. And you'd be like, well, surprise, it's his producer friend.
I'm just glad it's not entirely like Poltergeist, that we don't have to deal with the children.
Oh, no, but it's...
Because the child actors in this movie are so unbearably bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not really in it that much.
Like that itsy bitsy spider scene is like so ridiculous.
They took every spider thing that ever existed and put it in.
That's it. That's like the only like piece of media that spiders have.
The Poltergeist made me laugh at points, and John Goodman, I believe, why it's a cult classic is solely because of John Goodman.
So I think he might even be like totally like enigmatic of this movie's like tone that it's trying to achieve.
He was nailing something in the cellar, and the wood just disintegrated.
Termites, huh?
And that's what my husband thought.
And he's an expert in these matters.
Well, no.
Didn't think so. Well, I'm glad you called me. No room for amateurs in this game.
So I just real quick, the critics' consensus of this movie, Arachnophobia may not deliver genuine chills, but it's an affectionate, solidly built tribute to Hollywood's classic creature features. And for me, I really like the word affectionate in there. It's kind of sweet for a movie with lots of spiders crawling around.
Yeah, I'll say, I think the handling of tone is really great in this movie. It goes from being like super silly to really intense and fun in like, a couple seconds. There are some things though that are like a little too silly. Like the what did I write down? Well, I think like the mortician, like I love that character. But it's so ridiculous. Like it's just
him and his like wife who love Wheel of Fortune. I've never seen anyone get so excited for Wheel of Fortune. I know maybe that's how people were back in 1990. Like they unplugged their phones for Wheel of Fortune. I don't know.
This movie did have the classic slasher fake out where like, is the spider dead? And then it jumps out at you on fire. And it's like, no, kill it. It's like, okay, this movie handles its tone brilliantly with little spikes on either.
It becomes so, I guess, so 90s, just like so many times. I mean, it's 1990s, so I guess it's still technically
it's got
the
that
80s,
great sort of like late 80s, early 90s feel. Like, for example, like the music. I really like the music in this movie, especially like, for example, like John Goodman's like kind of theme music. Like that kind of music you don't really hear anymore. It's kind of like a jazzy southern rock band that's got like you're getting like saxophone and harmonica, and it's like kind of like it's a very sort of like relaxing, comforting sort of like sound to it. I like that.
It's so bizarre though, because it'll come like right after a spider scene. Like people will be like, oh, like this like close-up shot of like the shower bastards, and then all of a sudden be like, it's like, this is The Price is Right. Like,
he just walked off into the comedy movie and just he walked off Raising Arizona just into this horror movie.
Yeah, like I mean, you get that shower scene. Like, you're right, because like that, you get the shower scene, which is I think the classic scene. I think that's probably like in all the trailers where like she's in the shower and the guy is like on the toilet, and definitely too two places you do not want to run into a spider.
Well, and when does she notice that the spider is on her?
It's like not until it's like kind of down there.
It's like there, like it's so weird that it's like it jumps on her, which is it's funny because it's like so like ooh, like you see it going on her, but then. She doesn't feel it?
She doesn't feel it first, which I was like I guess
down there?
I think I would feel it. I mean, not to get like nitpicky or anything, but that did be like, oh, she doesn't feel it yet? And
I mean, that actress had to not freak out while humongous.
Yeah, and that was an actual spider?
They're all real, except for the big ones.
And the queen. the queen and Big Bob the king.
Yeah.
They were the only puppets.
They have like a lot of prosthetic work done on them to make them look like that, because they're supposed to be a new species. So I think like those like
they
huge
used
mandibles.
over 300 spiders in this movie, and they moved them by like hot and cold. That's how they made them move.
And really great work with the spiders.
Yeah, I mean this requires a very brave cameraman. He has to get in there.
Oh, production assistants. I mean, the whole
cinematographer did work with James Cameron on The Abyss. I think I can work with James Cameron. I can work with spiders.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these shots of the spiders. Like I said, this is like what the movie is like the main selling point. When. Yeah, to jump around, but at the end when they're all swarming the house, I mean, there's the one shot that gets me, and we're all screaming just thinking about it. There's the one scene where they're all coming out of this. When they come out of the sink, that's when I really lose it. Because it's like at that point, like they're everywhere.
Literally, I mean, this movie is. It's funny how much I enjoy it because 90% of it is just straight out of my nightmares, like purely like just straight out of my nightmares.
Yeah,
like the part where. I mean, it feels so real, too. The way they handle kind of like the fear of spiders doesn't feel like too overindulgent or silly where someone's like, but like, Jeff Daniels like it sells it so well.
And he freezes. That's what I think a lot of people do. Like they freeze, and there's that scene where like the guy needs them to like move so he can like put the glass on the spider, and then he can't move. And I feel like that's very like relatable for anyone.
Jeff Daniels brought a lot to this lead character who could in any other movie and maybe any other actor it would have been like a piece of toast. Like I think it would have been
so silly. Like a lot of this movie, if not handled the way it was handled and without the script, it would have been like the silliest movie.
And he is charming. He is a charming.
I like Jeff Daniels a lot. It's a very like fine line they have to any sort of movie where you have multiple tones, like we're just like thrilling moments, funny moments, sentimental moments. There is a fine line you have to sort of walk, and I think they do that pretty well. It is like hard to do that.
Well, what's great is that the script always has an answer for everything in this movie. Where it would seem almost on the onset that Jeff Daniels' character is like kind of hard to root for in the beginning because you're like, oh, this like kind of uppity guy from the city, so exhaustingly pragmatic all the time. And like nervous, that's usually not that great of a quality to have for a protagonist. But what's great is that the script writes in all of these characters in the town that are just so beyond irredeemably stupid.
Yeah,
like,
I would just say he looks
so dumb.
I'm on his side just because like the sheriff is such a jerk, and because the other doctor is a jerk.
Fuck that doctor. He's like, I'm not retired.
That doctor, he's like trying to ruin his career. A teenager dies, and he's like, oh, Jeff Daniels, the doctor, was the last one to see him. Like,
I was very like his death was like extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
I would just say with like the story structure in this movie, at the beginning. You get kind of what feels like a totally different movie going into like the jungles of Venezuela, and it kind of sets up how the spider gets there.
Yeah,
could you
it's like Jurassic Park.
My escape. He's like, they have a shot where he's just kind of like planning, like, oh my god, people.
I mean, I think that's the No Fun Police though, and it's like, that's why I wanted to go to America, but then like, the movie's crazy enough that it makes you like forget about that. It's like, oh yeah, that spider is probably really smart or something.
Yeah, it's like I gotta buy like there's also like a funny shot of like the big spider and the house spider, like you see their shadows and it looks like they're like I don't know, about to like make out or something.
Oh, I hate that. I think I wrote down that quick shot of them like just touching each other. This is the worst thing ever. Like I don't want to feel anything. Like I know what they're trying to do.
It's spider love, Andy. It's so romantic.
This movie.
He plays saxophone over like
spider love.
Honestly, what the people that should be mad at this movie are the people that like spiders, because people that obviously, I mean, I'm sure when we read the some of the reviews. It's going to be people like, spiders are scary and gross in this movie. But, like, as a fellow arachnophobe, I feel like it both makes fun of me in a tasteful way, but also supports my phobia.
Well, it's about a guy who, like, overcomes...
It justifies it, definitely.
Because these spiders are evil. They don't want
It's
food.
empathetic. Yeah, they're just trying to, like, kill people. I mean, it's empathetic. You know, you're, like I said, you're on Jeff Daniels' side, and you understand why he's so scared of spiders. And at the end, he overcomes his fear. Like, it's like...
it ties in wonderfully.
It's like, the arachnophobe is the hero. So, if anything, it's like pro-arachnophobe.
I made a quick list of the great heroes of arachnophobe history.
Okay.
We have number one is Samwise Gamgee.
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah.
I would think that's an obvious choice. Next, we have this character. His name is Ross. Out of context, it seems like I'm talking about Ross from Friends, but don't worry.
Kill some spiders?
Yeah.
The one where they kill the spider.
Yeah. Number 3 is John Goodman, because I forgot his character's name.
Oh, you can ask. Delbert?
Delbert, yeah.
Delbert.
And number 4, I put Ron Weasley with a question mark, but I don't really think that.
He just pissed his pants. I think the flying car is the hero in that scene.
But just because he's Ron Weasley.
Granted, Samwise and both Ron were dealing with
Ross.
They were dealing with Ron Weasley. They were dealing with a spider the size of this room.
Yeah. Samwise Gamgee though. We're not going to get into this, but he's 4 feet tall. I mean, this is a man with giant balls.
You bring that up. So I feel like I'm way more scared of like a swarm of spiders than I am of like one giant spider. I mean, I don't want to deal with either, but
that's what this movie does great is that you never see that big main spider until the end. Like, it's always hidden and like
and but at that point I'm not as there's a couple jump scares where
they're great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But again, I'm more kind of freaked out when they're like all over the place and they're attacking them. Like that
house, that ending climax, you're just getting chills.
Yeah, you see them and then they're in the background at that point. Like that really got to me.
I would like to know what went into that scene. Like if they, just dumped a crap ton of spiders in a house and then they threw the actors in there and like the camera.
How did they get them to come out of the sink? How did they get them to like crawl through
That's probably like a sound stage though. I would imagine to be able to get that effect. Kick someone out of your house, we're gonna dump a whole bunch of spiders in the living room.
Director, they're not coming out of the sink. Light a fire under their bellies. They'll come out.
Oh God.
The other thing that scares me too is in earlier scenes, knowing there's like 1 or 2 spiders, but not where they are. There's when they're going to the old lady's house looking for spiders. Like that. This movie really like tries to tear down your idea of like a safe space. So it could be anywhere. It could it's behind the curtain. It's in the box of like chips or something. Yeah. That is like it could be anywhere. It takes advantage of that sort of like elusive nature that spiders have.
Yeah, I mean these spiders are crafty. They will not
they are really smart.
They will. Yeah, I mean there's a scene where Jeff Daniels is trying to blowtorch the last spider. It hides behind something, waits till he's done, and then turns to the next hiding spot. It's like a Black Ops spider. It's so crazy.
The general had it like, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to create more. Like, he had a plan. He had a plan, and the humans in Venezuela gave him that out. Like, the way he even sneaks into the coffin, it's like, there's hope. He crawls out at the right time. He has food.
Yeah, he has all the blood.
Vampires.
And the morgue itself with that dead body is like, oh shit.
Anything more horrifying than someone said, this is a vampire spider. It will just suck your blood. It won't even waste any time with you.
Drink all the blood, and then they're also cannibals. So they're vampire cannibal spiders, which is just a great words put together.
They come out of that egg sac already huge. It's the worst thing ever. This movie is a bad thing, but it's great.
So in that sort of spirit, I guess we can maybe speculate that a lot of people are maybe thumbs downing on this movie because they're scared of spiders. But that's kind of the goal. Is what I mean? Like, is this movie being penalized for what it's set out to do, which is come up with a sort of thrilling spider feature?
That's exact. I mean, there's so many movies with examples like that too. That they came out. People were horrified in what they were seeing, and it's like, okay, well, that's the point. We're trying to horrify. Like when The Thing came out, people were divided on.
People were grossed out.
They were just like, this is the most vile movie of all time. And John Carpenter's like, yeah, I know. Like, what do you think I was trying to do?
With a movie like Arachnophobia, though, you know what you're getting into. I can maybe see some other movies where you might not have realized, like, how graphic or whatever. But Arachnophobia, you know you're getting spiders. Like, it delivers on that promise wholeheartedly.
Maybe they didn't think they were going to be real. I mean, that's the thing, is that this movie's awesome, but it really preys on that fear. Those close-ups of those spiders, like, linger. And, like, if you're arachnophobic, like, you see a spider, you're just so afraid that it's going to dart or it's going to, like, just do, like, a wicked movement or something.
I think people at the time, though, this movie... had a budget of $22 million, and it made 53, but it made 30 million in video rental sales, like a lot of blockbusters.
Like,
a whole roll of that.
Right away, or a couple years after?
An additional 30 million in video rentals.
Yeah.
So I can see that being like something that people like get for, you know, like a bunch of maybe like middle schoolers get for like a sleepover.
This is a good sleepover movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
rewatched it. It has a lot going for it.
It's fun. It's just like, you know, like I said, anytime John Goodman shows up, you know,
he's great. He's so weird. There's one scene where they're like trying to pinpoint where all the spiders are, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, this is fun. I saw one right here."
I like when he's spraying the thing.
Nothing phases him in this movie. He's just like, another job.
But where the Thing, like, time really kind of rewarded it as an all-time classic, I would say for Arachnophobia, half the audience, like, this is a fun ride of a movie, and half the audience, and where I'm seeing the audience reviews say, like,
Yeah, and I mean, in the hands of, like, a B-movie director, this would be, like, the most boring, stupid thing. Like, you would only see, like, a couple spiders, like, and they wouldn't be handled. I mean, the spider actors, they had spider auditions for this movie. Did you know that? They had tryouts. They, like, sent them through, like, a gauntlet of, like, endurance things, like having them go over, like, little mini obstacle courses.
Black Widows were such a diva.
Whichever ones were, like, the most receptive to, like, because they would direct them around with heat and cold.
Yeah.
To, like, kind of make them move around. Whichever ones were the most receptive and the quickest to, like, getting over stuff, they put all those in the movie.
You're gonna be a star.
They wanted to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's coming from Amblin, so these people love making movies, and they wanted to get it right.
Any other producer would be like, I just get a fucking spider from...
Of course. He permanently lost control of all of his bodily functions. There's no spider here. But I will hunt down the alleged arachnid and spread them to kingdom come.
You just get like CGI spiders. I mean, I think
the fact that they use practical was just.
I'm a fan of any movie with practical effects, especially this is the 80s, 90s, early 90s, the golden age of that, and. I mean, major props for all the sweat that went into working with these actual spiders. I can't imagine like what a task it must be, but I think it paid off a lot. So just other aspects of the movie to get into. Just like the structure, I mean, I think they set up this town pretty well. I like the town. I like the cast of characters. Like, and it's
Twin Peaks.
Yeah. You get the like,
that was going to be season 3, the real season 3.
Arachnophobia.
You get this like party that the old lady sets up where you meet the mortician, you meet like the coach, you meet like all these
stop
people.
eating.
Yeah.
Like, ever. I love that joke. They're all leaving the party, and the mortician and his wife, who's the girl from the Drew Carey show.
Yes.
Yes.
They have me?
Yeah, like a young me. It's weird. She's like married to like a 65-year-old dude.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Anyway,
they both love Wheel of Fortune.
They clearly love each other. But anyway, they have like plates of food that are like uncovered, and the woman, Margaret, I think her name is, she's like, "Do you want a doggy bag?" And they go, "No, we'll be just fine." They're gonna eat it on the way home. It's so gross.
Yeah, some of the humor is like kind of like quirky. I get a kick out of that. I like these characters. I like the old lady. I felt bad that she was like the first victim.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, it gives. There's a lot of great, like just impetus and reasons for things happening in this movie. Because again, like any other movie, people start dying, and then you'll have the character just come up, and be like, "What if it's a bug bite, a spider bite?" Like, how did he come to that conclusion? Like, so there's all these threads. It starts off with the photographer. He comes back. His corpse, is like shriveled and dying. Then all these people that Jeff Daniels is, doing routine checkups on, who appear medically perfectly fine, They just start, offing.
These spiders are like ruining his career, basically.
Yeah. There's a lot of great, you could interpret it as that. There's a lot of great reasoning for everything in this movie. It all comes around. You're never like, why would someone do that? Why?
Yeah, it's not just like
what's the point?
I think this movie, you feel like it is going somewhere. It's not just sort of like an aimless sequence of like spider attacks, No,
it feels complete. And like the whole thing with his wife being a photographer, that, again, in any other movie, would have been nothing. And she took a picture of the spider web, and that's what made the worst actor in the movie find the barn. And,
can we get it? Yeah.
The scientist? Oh, man.
Yeah.
He's like an android. He's like from a Ridley Scott movie.
He was kind of like the most caricature of a character. He was,
I was worried he was going to be the main guy. I forgot. I had no idea where this movie was taking me. I was worried he was going to be the main character.
Yeah, I mean, if you went to this not ever seeing like a trailer, just knowing the title, you might think this whole movie takes place in that opening jungle sequence, and it's about this, and then the photographer is the main character. And then thankfully, we do kind of move away from these sort of like silly characters into more sort of like, I don't know, more like enjoyable characters.
I think the scientist character is a little too much in this movie. I think it would have been just fine with his assistant, who's like a pretty good character.
He said the assistant.
The assistant was great.
Yeah, but the doctor, I can never tell if he's like a good guy or if he's like kind of evil, like bring me a specimen. But then he'll like be like, oh no, we gotta kill all of them. Mm-hmm. I don't know what this guy wants.
I was very
He does have that villain vibe, because I think I've seen him play villains.
I mean, he's British. He's the only guy in this movie that's British.
What if they had him be like he wants to grow his army of spiders or something?
Oh my god!
Like he wants to encourage. What if he was like excited by this and he wants to like encourage like this?
He's a secret spider.
Yeah, he's a human spider.
They have this zipper up there.
That'd be amazing.
Hello, brother. He starts like talking to all of them.
I need sugar.
He's like the alien from Men in Black.
Yes, that would have been perfect.
Edgar, yeah.
Well, what really confused me when he goes into that barn, like when he dies, he like tugs on the string and goes like, dinner's ready.
Yeah, and I
was like, does he want to be eaten by the spider? Like, is he sacrificing himself to the spider?
Had a jar. That's what I mean, is that one scene he would be like on everyone's side, and then the next he has like that jar, like right before he dies. I'm like, oh, so he does want a sample? He's risking everyone's lives now, though. So I feel like that they didn't really spend too much time on him. But yeah, once he died, I was like, oh well.
I know it's like to talk about Delbert, John Goodman's character not being fazed by anything. When he is not that horrified when he sees the body like fall like upside down on him. He's like, oh, they got the professor.
He's
not. You're not like
badass.
You're not like, oh my god.
He's been preparing for this day his whole life.
Yeah, I just remembered this movie. Watching it again, I haven't seen this trope in a movie in forever. John Goodman says some line, and you see Jeff Daniels like do a hand palm womp womp. I'm like, I haven't seen a movie do that in ages. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, I thought that was a little funny.
Eye roll.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't know that guy. I was judging him. Like,
at one point they're like, Delbert, just drive, and he just kind of like zips his mouth shut.
Rock and roll.
I think that it's a fun cast in this movie. Even like the supporting actors are all having a good time, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the supporting cast is great. I mean, they're not obviously as developed, but they all have like such distinct traits and like quirks. So you get into it and you start to feel the town. It's kind of curious. Like it feels like there's only 6 people in this entire like community. Yeah. But still it focuses enough on them that you get into it.
Everyone has a very nice house. I like the Mortician's house.
What state is it supposed to be in?
California.
West Coast. Oh, it's California.
It's I think the name of the town is fictional, but they filmed it in a California town in like Central California.
Okay.
So I kind of got a feel of that because then they moved to San Francisco, or they moved back to San Francisco at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like they shot that ending like, oh, we don't know how to we'll rent out this.
They paid off the chateau joke though. That
it did. Oh yeah, they finally had the chateau.
But then it pours over. That paid off.
I really like I like too that this movie gives almost like a real life lore to spiders that I think is very important for everyone to learn. Is that they live in cold, damp areas like that. That's kind of like the preferred environment, and that's a real thing. And this movie like keeps having like clues put throughout that, like the beginning valley that they go into. They're like, it's like a heavily moisturized area.
It's
like,
isolated.
Yeah,
so, the top of the food chain there.
And they mentioned the cellar in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
like,
and broken wood. Everything. Is set up.
The broken wood when he falls through. Yeah, because exactly, he falls through.
I gotta give credit. The screenwriter for this, I know this story. Like Leslie Strick, who did Cape Fear, Batman Returns. He's working. I think he's working on The Man in the High Castle right now. Depending when you listen to it, but he's. As you said, everything pays off. Even like the little, like the.
But it's never too obvious either. I mean, I feel like the seeds were planted, but it was like subtle enough.
Oh yeah, I mean, I never noticed this when I used to watch it, like back when I was in high school, or it'd be on TV.
I feel like you don't get the sort of subtle setup like that you used to. I think nowadays when when a seed is planted. It's like
there's such a show being made of it.
It's such a big deal because I feel like movies are obsessed with explaining things to people.
That's the problem. It's like general audiences get younger and younger. I feel like at least like by how much we, prioritize like certain viewpoints. And now, because we have to spoon feed everything. I mean, this is obviously very preachy, but at the same time, like this movie is such an example of like a time when. Screenwriters, especially for films that are fun, really took the time to make you invested in the action of the film. Not just like trying to set up set piece after set piece.
Yeah.
Because this movie has a lot. It has a lot of like really like kind of like kind of scenes that are pretty thrilling, and then but a lot of time setting it up. Like there's a lot of dialogue scenes, but they don't waste any time. It's great. It's it feels seamless, and there's not really like any filler that I can think of. I mean, I was even thinking like, what if you just gloss over that whole opening sequence in the jungle? I mean, like all you need to know is like, oh, we got this guy who's a photographer who's in Venezuela and he died, and then the spider crawls out, and you can kind of guess why from there. Yeah, because that whole opening sequence, like I said, feels like a completely different movie. Yeah,
I think to add to your point, Andy, I think that's like modern audiences are so used to those kind of movies that they look at Arachnophobia, and that's why you're seeing the reviews of, this is this is so 90s. But I think in the context of it, this movie I really want to stand. It's not going to stand the test of time like The Thing would, but I want it to be. I don't want it to be completely forgotten.
I want it to get a little more love than it's currently getting.
It doesn't deserve a 54.
No,
I'll say that.
I think too because it's maybe the reason why it's not really considered like a quote unquote classic is that it's a competent movie, and it's a really fun movie that again doesn't waste your time, but it's nothing like too. I feel like maybe it needed like an extra.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Like
really push it over.
Maybe like another character that really like.
There was one comment.
Maybe take out the scientist character, put in like something a little more interesting there. I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird. It's weird. Kind of trying to decide why this is not considered a quote unquote classic like or something.
Oh no, that I understand. I'm just like this movie. It's not a classic, but it's not to me average either. It's just like in that.
It's good.
It's good. Yeah. It's fun. It's a roller coaster. Did you have fun on the roller coaster? You'll remember that ride.
Yeah. It feels unique, but maybe not unique enough because at the end of the day, it's still just like another monster movie, and like it really just kind of accomplishes.
It doesn't
all those,
do enough to stand out.
Whereas like a movie like Jaws, like no one had seen anything like that beforehand.
It's unique enough that I would say it's worthy of its title. Mm-hmm. I can't think of other spider movies. Like if you want to say what's the movie that'll make you afraid of spiders, Arachnophobia should always be at the top of the list. But in terms of
audience reviews,
style, I can agree with you that like Jaws, that's Steven Spielberg at the top.
Yeah.
Like there are other like The Thing, that's John Carpenter at the top. I can see Frank Marshall. This was his first movie directing. Very good debut. But there's no style. That's
a really good point, actually. It is kind of like, a movie that maybe anyone could have made, I guess. Like, again, it's like, you have to be a good director to be able to balance all these tones. And, on a technical level, to be able to work with, like, spiders like this. But, this is not really, like, a movie where you watch it like, oh, you recognize like who's behind this.
Yeah, there's nothing like visually iconic about the movie. Even though there's like some stuff, I was watching it today and I was like, oh, that's a cool shot. Like there's a scene where Jeff Daniels is in the basement and like he keeps turning one way and the camera will zoom and then he'll turn another way and it'll zoom again on him and it has like that really, really intense feeling. I think the end sequence is like really well
I just picture, that's where I picture like Frank calling up Steven, like, Steve, do you have a good idea for this? Like, zoom in.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely like, I can hear the Spielberg influence. I can see the Spielberg influence in this.
He probably would have had like a henchman spider that's like super jacked, like beat up Jeff Daniels. It dies in like an accident or something.
Or something.
That's actually, honestly, if you want to interpret it like that, that's the queen spider before
she has to beat him first.
Throws it into like an electrical panel. Yeah. It's like that's kind of like Spielberg's henchman, like fighting Indiana Jones before
or if you
the big
say,
guy.
Oh, how about this? If you compare it to Die Hard, like the Queen's like the Carl, and then like
yes,
and then the Hans Gruber is the general.
I want blood.
Fun is like a word I want to keep going back to though, because I feel like so many movies nowadays, if it's a thriller, it's like going to be a movie that takes itself like way too seriously.
Yeah.
And like again,
it would have been funny for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly. If we're taking itself too seriously and not like this movie knows when to like take a step back and not take itself too seriously. Like actually, there's a movie coming out I saw a trailer for called Itsy Bitsy, and it's a movie. It's on YouTube recently. Basically, from what I understand, like this like single mom and her kids move into this house,
of course,
and basically like the monster of this movie is like a giant spider, and. For me,
it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No one saw it coming. It's
I bet the trailer has like a creepy itsy bitsy spider.
That's exactly
sung by Lana Del Rey.
Yes. so basically,
I bet this
is like the anti-arachnophobia was my response to watching that trailer because it's totally serious. Instead of a bunch of spiders, like I said, it's way scary. You get one giant spider. Which I guess that's also scary in real life, but from a movie's point of view,
well, it never happened. Like that's the thing is that
it's hard to miss a giant spider. A giant spider can't be elusive like a regular spider.
Yeah, I mean, Arachnophobia is a ridiculous film in that it assumes that spiders, or like they say that it's like a rare thing, but like that a spider colony would arrange itself like a bee colony. Where
the drones.
Yeah. Like obviously that's ridiculous, but because they use real spiders, because they're all regular size, like there's none in here, none of them said like, I've never seen one this big before. They're just like, that's just a big spider, but it bites really bad. It feels like real enough, and especially the way Jeff Daniels and these actors react to all of it, again, like totally well-directed like reactions and like, it feels measured.
Yeah, they do restrain themselves too when, the scientist is like, saying how, well, if they give birth to a reproductive offspring, then this town is dead. Then the next town, and it's like the guy is very close to saying, and then the world. It's like they're trying to keep themselves from being like a totally apocalyptic.
Yeah, I mean, it takes that one town. The military is going to come in with like an army of flamethrowers and just kill them.
Yeah, there's an outbreak like that, but they do try to like they almost go there, but they don't quite.
Well, I think it's well timed that a movie like Itsy Bitsy it comes out just so we have something to compare. I like the anti-arachnid. I didn't know it existed either. But to compare, like, I guess that just hopefully if that comes out, that'll make people They'll make people go back to arachnophobia.
We kind of noted when we in another episode talked about The Mummy how the 2017 version of The Mummy made people more appreciative of the 1999 version,
which is funny.
It's great. So. Hopefully this is like going to be a similar sort of situation.
That 54 tomato can at least get into the 60s, which I think would be appropriate.
Yeah. I guess, well, it's funny enough too. So if we want to go into some of these audience reviews, as you predicted, there's plenty of like audience reviews I saw that are like, spiders are too scary.
Homie, don't do spiders, buff.
Yeah, I saw that one. I also saw some reviews. So yes, there are plenty of reviews that are like spiders are too scary. But I also saw some audience reviews that are like, spiders aren't scary at all. 0 stars.
What do you want?
It's like, so can you not make a movie about spiders? Either they're too scary or not scary enough? Like, what? Like, I don't know.
You're telling me this spider doesn't transform into a snake, which I'm actually scared of?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're not personally scared of spiders.
What were you thinking you were getting into?
Yeah, like,
I didn't even see it.
If you don't think spiders are scary, then don't watch Arachnophobia. I don't know.
This guy's on a mission to like shame people who are afraid of spiders.
Yeah,
like, every
basically.
spider movie, boring, not scary.
bunch of
Anyone
wimps.
who's scared of spiders is a big old wimp.
This audience review kind of stuck out to me. Arachnophobia wasn't a good movie, but it was a fun movie and an effective movie. The story was silly and not that complicated, reminded me of a lot of old creature feature movies, but it was enjoyable to watch, and it's effective in that anything that lands of your, I guess, like, he had fun along the way. But it kind of sums up the 54.
This is what I don't get.
I think this movie means that much to people. I feel like one word I saw as well was like it doesn't resonate, I guess. And again, maybe it's not like there's not a lot of like culture, like, you know, pop culture references. There's not a lot of like, there's not any sort of like social statement on the movie. Not that it has to.
They just
have
wanted
that.
to make a fun B movie with spiders.
I think even if you're not afraid of spiders, this movie is still pretty enjoyable because it makes fun of people that have arachnophobia in a way. Like Jeff Daniels' character is so terrified to the point of like paralysis. Like
His wife he has to get his wife to
his
kill his
wife
spider.
has to help. I mean, these are real issues that we suffer with every day. God bless all the men and women in our lives that give us strength through these dark hours. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's so funny how people back then would even be like, it's not good, but it's very effective, and it's like, well, I mean.
This was it's just at least the critics thought this.
If it's effective, doesn't that make it good? I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's complete. It's completely oxymoron. Like,
Yeah.
it's just weird.
Like, what else do you want? Like, okay.
Maybe it's just critic jargon. That, you know, you can drop one thing and then make people believe that it's actually a good movie later.
It's like, pick a side already.
Yeah.
There is, I think, one other spider movie that does come to mind is an early 2000s, I believe, movie called 8-Legged Freaks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that movie at all. I think, like,
Pretty bad.
what's his name? David Arquette is in that movie?
A young Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
David Arquette playing his character from Scream in 8-Legged Freaks.
It's the same universe, maybe.
Isn't he a cop in that movie too?
He's a dopey cop.
Yeah, so he's
dopey in
a cop.
everything.
So he's a cop in Scream.
Yeah, he's a dopey, a doofy. But
and that's a movie that, like, I think tried to be like
that one had
2000s
CGI
version.
spiders.
Yeah.
But those are like alien spiders. They're like big.
They're huge, and it's CGI.
Toxic waste.
Bad CGI. Oh yeah, they're like Ninja Turtle spiders.
And like the movie kind of had this whole tone of like extreme, like
Even the font of the movie is extreme. This one is just like
brought to you by like Doritos, like extreme.
Brought to you by
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
like,
I
it's
bet,
nothing
like,
charming about that. Just it doesn't have the charm at all that Arachnophobia has.
Yeah, there's no dirt bike assault scene in Arachnophobia.
No, and I'm glad
the
there's
dirt bikes would actually, if they had a fleet of dirt bikes, that would make everything a lot easier. Just charge the spiders.
Just
and
run them over.
Yeah.
I bet, like, I don't know if we'll ever find out, but I bet someone like Guillermo del Toro really liked this movie. As someone who watched those 1950s, like, if you watch those Escape from Spider Island or the Giant Leech of Lagoons, or I don't know, one of those kind of movies, this movie's a good throwback where 8-Legged Freaks, as you said, just plays a giant guitar riff in your face. And
that movie is about the spiders. This movie is about a guy trying to stop the spiders.
Yes, exactly.
I love the parallel of him talking about his trauma that induced his arachnophobia, where he had the spider crawl up his leg as a young kid, and then at the end of the movie, it's crawling, and he's able to hit it right
another thing that comes around, but it's like, again, it's not like a super obvious thing. Like, it's not like when you told that story, I'm like, well, that's gonna happen later, right? I didn't think that,
Yeah, and it makes you care about the character too. You think in that moment, like, oh god, it's on him. Like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah,
but it's great. There's a great character arc with Jeff Daniels. I mean, he goes back to the city, but I think in terms of
when your house is destroyed,
I'd move out.
I would move out of there. I understand that perfect.
It would have been so ridiculous if he's like, oh, I don't know, this place seems nice. I think I'll stay here.
This place needs me.
Now they have no doctor. But...
Yeah, I mean,
I like how unsympathetic they were about the doctor dying, because then it's like, well, you're the doctor now.
I'm just glad that the Marble Rye lady from Seinfeld didn't die right after him. I was like, oh,
Yes.
And the grandma from Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
Yeah. This is only the third thing
I recognized her. I didn't recognize Mimi, but I recognized her.
Sweetest looking
Stole
person
my
ever.
Marble Rye. Yeah, that was a funny little find. So, for the last thing, we're just gonna give our own like percentage, you know, and then this is our kind of way of siding with either the critics or audiences. So, again, 92% with critics, 54% with audiences. And it'll start with you. Like, what percentage approval would you give this movie?
Man, it's tough being exact. I'd probably give it like a
range,
like an 82%.
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. You know, it's a really good film. It's well acted. It's well written. But I guess what you guys are saying, it kind of lacks like that unique touch that puts it above everything else. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just solid.
Yeah, I think it's fine for what it is.
Does not offend at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm surprised you didn't get any like reviews about like maybe like a spider activist or something like this is giving spiders a bad name.
That would be completely hypocritical because they treat the spiders exceedingly well during the production of this movie. Like I read up on it. Like
any dead spider died of natural causes is what I read.
Yeah, I think I read something that there was like a practical effect where when John Goodman steps on one, he had a hole in his shoe, like just big enough for the spider to like kind of crouch in there and like wait until he took the shoe away.
Oh,
which is
and they use chips as the they use like potato chips.
You did get a very like that's
it sounds like he's breaking someone's leg.
Yeah.
What does that spider have like 80% more cartilage than any other spider on the earth?
But you can imagine them in like a sound booth, just like Cheetos, like
I think they had fun with it, is what they did.
It's a lot of fun, and you're along for the ride. I'm with you. I would give it a solid like 80 to 85 B. Yeah. But I think I know this isn't how Rotten Tomatoes grades, but I think if 100 people went into this movie, 92 a lot of people would have fun. I don't think it would be 54. I think the audience should probably, I'd be okay with it being in the 60s. 54 is just the reasons behind it are just, come on. That's fine.
Yeah, I think
can't overlook it.
They're penalizing the movie for what it set out to do. So, I think I'm going to side with you guys and give it somewhere around the 80, 85. I think it's, good. That's where you give a movie that's it's well done, not groundbreaking by any means. Not that every movie has to be. Yeah. But, I'm glad I saw it. And it's a movie where if it's on TV, I'll watch it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good, just kind of put on and just chill out and watch it.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Unless you're me, you have to watch it in a very specific movie, where you don't want to be paranoid for an hour after watching it.
I would not watch it in a house in the woods or something, but
I mean, hell no.
But I would definitely. It's like a matinee. It's a solid you know what I mean? You go if the year is 1990 and this movie's out, I think I'd have a good time going on a Saturday 1 p.m. Munching on popcorn with some friends watching this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess we are going to officially decree ourselves siding with the critics. That is what we're closest to here.
They know what's going on.
And it's too bad that more people aren't loving this movie right now, but hopefully in due time they will. So, Andy, thank you for
joining us.
Joining us here to discuss this movie. I have to apologize to you. I purposely picked Andy, knowing that he was an arachnophobe, but I'm also a bit of an arachnophobe. Not as bad as Andy, but
it's a problem.
Sometimes you have to face your fears and laugh at yourself.
In this movie, I mean, it should be shown to every arachnophobe for them to realize that it's okay.
Mm-hmm. I can only hope that the exterminator in my town is as competent as Delbert.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this movie, it reinforces my hypothesis that there are places that no one should ever go, ever, in the world. Venezuela, on the list, never going there.
No.
Australia is up there.
Oh, yeah.
Just anywhere, really, except the United States. Yeah, I mean, it's, I think we're in a good place right here. There's a beautiful country, and death to all spiders.
I'll just put at the end of this podcast, if you or a loved one has arachnophobia, please call this number.
Please.
As I say, I
watch this movie.
I don't like seeing spiders, but I despise flies and mosquitoes. So once they all die, then the spiders can die. We need spiders to kill those things.
I'll take a compromise with that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Andy, for joining us.
Thank you.
And tune in next time, guys, for another Divided Film. Thank you.